I traveled on the very first Nightjet between Berlin and Paris on its inaugural ride. After a few years without any connection, the two capitals are finally connected again by a direct night train. Fall asleep in Berlin, take your breakfast in the middle of the French countryside before arriving in the heart of Paris, stress-free. Welcome on board the inaugural ride of the new Nightjet, Berlin to Paris. Our journey starts in the wonderful station of Berlin Hauptbahnhof, in the center of the German capital. Hauptbahnhof is the biggest station in Berlin. This station was inaugurated in 2006, after a massive reconstruction project that took years. I remember the first time I came to Hauptbahnhof in 2019, and I was speechless, to be fair. You will find the tracks on the upper level on the east-west axis for through train and S-Bahn, and some tracks on the north-south axis for through train too. In between you will find loads of shops. And according to a video of my friend Regis from the YouTube channel RM Transit, Berlin Hauptbahnhof is one of the best stations in the world, and I totally agree. Berlin Hauptbahnhof will be the departure station for our train tonight, the very first Nightjet from Berlin to Paris. But why is it such an important event? Well, as you may know, Europe used to be very well connected with an extensive network of sleeper trains. Paris and Berlin, two important European capitals, are too far away from each other to be linked even with an high-speed train. It will take you around 9 hours travel from Paris to Berlin. 9 hours equal a whole day of traveling. And of course, this is the best case scenario if everything goes to plan. And you know, with DB, you never know if you will have your connection or not. So a connection with DB is never a good idea. And this is why the night train connection was crucial if you had to travel for a business meeting. Paris and Berlin used to be connected by a daily night train until 2014. It was operated by the German operator Deutsche Bahn with its City Night Line brand. And DB completely stopped its City Night Line brand, aka night train service, in 2016. And in 2011, along with the DB service, City Night Line, RZD, the Russian national operator, started a 3-weekly service between Paris and Moscow through Berlin. Later, the service was reduced to a weekly service, and this service was eventually cancelled in 2020 due to, you know, the virus thing that happened in 2020. To resume, until 2014 it was possible to travel every single day between Paris and Berlin with City Night Line. Then the Russians came in and filled the role for a few years. 3 times a week and then once a week, and since 2020, nothing. And once again, ÖBB, the national railway operator of Austria, saved the day with its Nightjet service. And Nightjet was created in 2016 and was basically the successor of City Night Line for night train across Europe, with a central hub in Vienna. Later on, ÖBB believed in the success of night train and built a strong relationship with foreign rail operators such as DB or SBB to create a new night train network. This is why, for example, you will see Austrian train stamped ÖBB on a Zurich to Hamburg Nightjet, a train that doesn't even set the wheel in Austria. And Paris started to welcome night train again in 2021 with the introduction of the Nightjet Paris-Vienna. I made a video on this train if you're curious to discover more about this wonderful train journey. After the massive success of Nightjet across Europe, ÖBB continued its work with different railway operators to bring more night train across Europe. And one of the most requested ones was from Paris to Berlin and also Berlin to Brussels. Tonight, half our train will go from Berlin to Brussels. Both trains will run 3 times a week, with train leaving from Berlin for Paris and Brussels on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And the Nightjet going from Brussels and Paris to Berlin will run on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. ÖBB would love a daily service, but clearly doesn't have enough rolling stock at the moment. The Nightjet Berlin-Paris-Brussels will eventually become daily in late 2024 with the introduction of new Nightjet on the network, discharging older rolling stock and increasing the frequency. And if you are curious to see what it's like to travel on board this new Nightjet, I invite you to watch my video on the subject. And a side note, this new Nightjet will launch in commercial service on the line between Vienna and Innsbruck to Hamburg in Germany, just a day before our Nightjet on the 10th of December. Our train was fully privatized for the press and special guests for the event, which kind of created a bad buzz on social media since some passengers were able to get a ticket and get their ticket cancelled a day before departure. We attended the press conference on Platform 8 in Berlin, and big news today, the French Transport Minister Clément Beaune will be on board our train. A lot of cool announcements for the European night train network, and what caught my attention was DB, who apologized for killing a night train and said it was a terrible mistake. It terribly caught my attention. For tonight's ride, I will be traveling in a couchette car, a 6 couchette compartment that I will share with 2 other YouTubers, Benjamin aka Globetrotter and Sebastian from the excellent YouTube channel Severin in Österreich, Deutschland and Schweiz. And it's not the first time for me on board this Nightjet couchette, but I believe this was my first time on this type with Nightjet. These are all Dutch band couchettes inherited by OBB from the Old City Nightline fleet. And despite their old age around 50 years, I'm still a huge fan of this couchette. This is where I spend my best night on night train. It's like sleeping at your grandma's house. It's ugly and smells like dust, but you will spend an awesome night. And I've already traveled on board this couchette on the Optima Express, SJ Euronight and European Sleeper, and every time it was an awesome night. Nevertheless, this couchette will provide all the basic needs for a comfortable night on board. Lots of room for luggage, AC, curtain, and also 2 little power outlets. Not modern, but better than nothing. And keep in mind that these coaches were refurbished about 20 years ago. The Nightjet's scheduled departure was at 2018, but we left Berlin with a delay of 10 minutes for an unknown reason. Many people were here to celebrate and take pictures of the first Nightjet departing from Berlin to Paris and Brussels. The ride from Berlin to Paris is 14 hours and 6 minutes long, for a total distance of 988 kilometers, and unlike many other Nightjet, this one will make only a handful of stops along the way. We stop in Berlin-Südkreuz, Halle, Erfurt, Frankfurt, before reaching Mannheim, where the train will be reorganized. The Berlin to Paris will be coupled with the Vienna to Paris, and the Berlin to Brussels will be coupled with the Vienna to Brussels. After Mannheim, our train will make a quick stop in Strasbourg, in the early morning before a straight shot to Paris for an arrival at 10:24 in Paris. 10:24 is quite late for a night train arrival, especially if you compare with the old city nightline that used to arrive in Paris an hour earlier. I went to sleep just before Erfurt, and at this moment we experienced an emergency brake due to a fire alarm that happened on the train. Nothing serious though, but the train had to stop for at least 30 or 40 minutes. This would add to our already existing delay. Fortunately, the timetable buffer on our journey should be enough to expect an arrival on time in Paris tomorrow morning. So nighty night everybody! By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying this content. This is the best way to help the channel, and if you want to help even more with some extra content, you can check out my Patreon page link in the description. Oh, and also I have another YouTube channel about my model train in Escape if you are curious. It is called Mini Track by Simply Highway. As expected, I slept for a solid 7 hours and woke up at 8:30 in the morning. And as expected also, I was briefly woken up in Mannheim due to the shunting. And surprisingly, the shunting was very smooth. I was woken up because the AC was off and I was getting warm. So thumbs up for the smooth shunting in Mannheim DB. The old DB couchettes are extremely well built. It was silent and comfortable. They are still doing the job really well. And to be fair, I was woken up by the couchette attendant that gave me the breakfast while in bed. With Nightjet, breakfast is included in couchette and sleeping car accommodation. You will have to fill up a form the previous night and give it to your couchette attendant. And exceptionally for the press trip, we had an upgrade in a Frühstück and had a sleeping car type of breakfast instead of the couchette, which gave us way more options, but as always it's fresh and filling. It just never gets old to have breakfast in bed with a moving landscape in the background. In Mannheim, our train was recognized and is finally a full train to Paris, with half of the train composed from the Vienna-Paris section and our Berlin to Paris section. And since Berlin, our train was hauled by a DB class 101 and was swapped in Mannheim for tracks. SNCF, the French National Railway, doesn't have any passenger locomotive able to run in France and Germany. So SNCF had to lease the tracks to the leaser Dispolog. This engine is mostly used as a freight engine and has a top speed of 140 km per hour. So the Nightjet can't really go full speed while in France. I'm actually walking through the Vienna to Paris section of the Nightjet, composed of 2 sitting car, 2 sleeping car and 2 cushion car. Our train from Berlin is basically the same. 2 sitting car, 2 sleeping car and 2 couchettes. And if you're curious to discover the other accommodation with Nightjet, I invite you to watch my video on the seat car between Vienna and Paris, and on the deluxe compartment between Vienna and Brussels. And now comes the toilet time. You will find 2 toilets on the couchette car, 1 at each end. Nothing revolutionary here. It's the good old DB couchette toilet. It was perfectly clean even after the night, and everything was working perfectly. Nice job, OBB. And even though the arrival in Paris is late for a night train, it is so enjoyable to have some time to kill and watch the beautiful landscape of the Champagne region. And plus, the old DB couchette have some windows that can be opened. So it's Fenster off time. As we approach Paris, I will talk a bit about the price. I did not pay for this trip since I was invited by OBB. For a 6-passenger compartment, you can find tickets around €69. I looked at a trip in early March, as an example. But price can be higher if you book later or during a busy period. Just keep in mind, it's never the same. We arrived in Paris with a total delay of 15 minutes, which is totally okay when we take a look at how late we were during the night. At some point we were 1 hour late. So we caught by the delay in Mannheim and between Strasbourg and Paris. A triumphal arrival was planned off for the return of the night train from Berlin. Lots of SNCF officials, TV, radio and enthusiasts were here to welcome the new Nightjet.
Ouais, du monde, ouais.
This was quite a special moment, and to be fair folks, I was a bit emotional. I never took the night train between Paris and Berlin. I went in Paris many times to spot the train. I always wanted to take this train, and here I am now arriving in my capital. This new Nightjet is not revolutionary. You will find the exact same amenities as all other Nightjet services. But it is good. This is what people need for long distance travel within Europe. No need to suffer a whole day on a TGV. Just take the night train, fall asleep and wake up at your destination. So far, 3 times a week is not enough to satisfy all the demand for night train. But it's a start. And we will see the full potential of this train once it becomes daily. As far as I know, the Nightjet Berlin-Paris is already sold out on many dates in December. That's a good sign of a good start for OBB. Folks, thank you so much for watching this video and coming along with me on this inaugural ride. I would like to thank OBB for the invite once again, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you shortly.